Hello, hockey fans. My name is David. I would start this video recording 12:51 on the morning of Tuesday, 18th of May, 2022, North American Eastern Time. This video mainly being in response to a press conference that took place on the afternoon of Tuesday, 17th of May, North American Eastern Time, after my hometown Leafs had lost their first round playoff series to the Tampa Bay Lightning in 7 games. I didn't watch the press conference, but just watched some of the highlights. And I can tell you, I am disgusted at how out of touch Brendan Shanahan, the president of that team, and Kyle Dubas were of the failure. I was not surprised that neither executive announced his resignation, even though both of them should have. I just want to take a note here about the upcoming Battle of Alberta between the Calgary Flames and Edmonton Oilers. I congratulate both teams for their respective wins. I will cheer for the winner of that series because I want so badly for a Canadian team other than the Habs to win a Stanley Cup. The Habs have won a whole bunch of Stanley Cups since after 1967. Most of them in the 1970s, but still one of them in 1993. And the Habs made it in 2021. I really hope for a Canadian team other than the Habs to win a Stanley Cup. But again, it's hard to know what's going to happen. The only guarantee is last summer, last June, a Canadian team is going to make a Stanley Cup semifinal. That's going to be so good. And this time it's going to be other than the Habs. Well, the Habs kind of went through a disastrous offseason last year, and they ended up finishing dead last on points in the NHL during the regular season. So therefore, qualified for a top 5 spot in the draft lottery instead of a playoff spot. Who knows how long the Habs will not be seeing playoff hockey played at the Bell Center. But anyway, I congratulate the Calgary Flames and the Oilers on the wins of their series. Neither Alberta team had to play another Western Canadian team to get in. It's no, because after all, let's look at it. Canucks didn't make the postseason. The Jets didn't do so. So yeah. I mean, yes, the Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames haven't had too much playoff success. Indeed, the Flames have made the second round for just the second time since Brad Treliving was, by the Flames, hired as the team GM. The Edmonton Oilers, first time under the general management of Ken Holland. And there were calls to fire Holland, fire Bob Nicholson, CEO of the Oilers Entertainment Group, just as there were calls to fire Brad Treliving, son of now retired CBC Dragons Den panelist Jim Treliving. Again, the Leafs, my hometown Leafs, have by contrast over-relied on beating one team. I mean, sometimes, I look back at an episode of the Steve Dangle podcast, put up on YouTube early last June about it takes a remark from Jesse Blake about how it takes Coors multiple kicks to the can. The difference is that for the Leafs, I also present a claim made by TSN scouting director Craig Button on an episode of Leafs Lunch 1050, Toronto TSN 1050 radio's lunchtime show, that the last time he claimed to have checked, the Leafs hadn't, quote, won a playoff round in 5 years, unquote. So again, a very interesting theme on that radio show from Andrew Petrillo, then a co-host of that radio show, that what had been such a bad idea for NHL teams to just stick with their stars. Stick with star players. Well, if those star players aren't performing, why should they? If those players aren't performing, aren't winning playoff rounds, then maybe yes, it's not a bad idea to ditch them. But again, I look at the teams that had some playoff success. The Leafs haven't had any for almost 2 decades now. So as far as I'm concerned, I go to now more recently, and I look at on Tuesday morning's episode of Tuesday's episode of the morning the morning of a morning show broadcast on Toronto Sportsnet radio station The Fan 590 from Steve Dangle, who claimed that Sportsnet hockey analyst Elliot Friedman had claimed that the Leafs were going to have some sort of we're going to need to have some sort of quote summer of Kawhi unquote, referring to an ex-member of the roster of the NBA Raptors of Toronto. Yeah, well, with Steve Dangle, a prominent podcaster, having claimed that, well, there hadn't been had been a DeMar DeRozan on the Leafs roster to trade away. For me, it's just, boldness. Dangle claimed that Raptors president Masai Ujiri had been bold, and that Dubas had not been, as Leaf GM. To me, that's a big problem. I also look at, have the Leafs, following the 2002 Stanley Cup playoffs, won a playoff series other than a Battle of Ontario? Nope. 2003, the Leafs faced the Philadelphia Flyers in the opening round of that year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Lost the opening round. 2004, Leafs faced the Ottawa Senators in the most recent Battle of Ontario. Leafs won that, but then lost to the Philadelphia Flyers. It's been the same thing ever since. The Leafs have not been able to beat a team in the postseason other than the Ottawa Senators. So the Flames and Oilers turned out to be better built for the postseason than the Leafs. There was at one point during the regular season during which the Leafs had been in the postseason and likely were going to make it, and while the Oilers and Flames were not in at all. The Flames ultimately rocketed to the top spot in the Pacific, the Oilers ultimately finishing number 2. The LA Kings did give the Oilers a workout. It was 7 games after all. 7 games for the Flames, so hey, it's pretty good. For me, it's very simple. I also am going to refer to Tuesday afternoon's episode of the Real Kipper and Warren show, broadcast on the Fan 590, and claims made in the first 10 minutes or so by Nick Kiprios, goes by the Twitter handle at Real Kipper, RealKyber. We both claim that, to have given Dubas-Shanahan this is any surprise. No, it's not. Not to me. I just wish more media personalities would do that. Would follow me and say, that Dubas-Shanahan deserved this. Enough is enough. For me, I'd say that the Leaf press conference was an epic fail. Failing to acknowledge what the obvious. Changes to be made to boost the defense, beef it up with grinders who can help better push pucks away from Leaf goalies, from high danger areas. Because we all know what happens when there's an inadequate job done. 23 goals given up by the Leafs in the Bolts-Leaf series. Leafs scored 24, but even if you just count the empty net goals the Leafs gave up in Game 4, it's still pretty bad. Giving up on average 3 goals a game. It's not acceptable. It didn't work. Yes, there were opportunities to score that the Leafs missed out on. But the problem is, if the Leafs hadn't spent so much time on their own end in that series, in the Bulls Leafs series. Just imagine where Leafs might be now. We're talking about perhaps being a Stanley Cup contender instead of losing in the opening round. And to those who suggest that, oh, it's a Game 7 of a conference final, it's not that. The Leafs, in 1993, had grinders on their team, Doug Gilmour, Wendell Clark, Dave Allen, Peter Zezel, and got close to a Stanley Cup final. They got within one win of appearing in a Stanley Cup final. Yes, the Leafs haven't done as well since in the postseason. In 1994, the Leafs lost to the Vancouver Canucks in 5 games. In 1999, the Leafs lost in 5 games to the Buffalo Sabres. 2002, it was in 6 games with the Carolina Hurricanes. That's when the Leafs actually had ended up winning playoff series on a consistent basis. It hasn't happened for a while. Not since 2002 have Leafs managed to beat a team in postseason play other than the Ottawa Senators. At least not in terms of winning series. And that's been a problem. At some point, I look at, and I'm going to conclude by this episode of Leafs Lunch, broadcast in July, early in July of last year. On that day, Gord Miller, a longtime play-by-play commentator for TSN, Leafs games broadcast on TSN, and Craig Button, TSN's scout director, than the normal co-host at the time, were on that show, and with Miller having mentioned that John Cooper, after the Lightning had been swept out of the opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2019 by the Blue Jackets, that the approach would have changed to one of a run-and-gun team to that of, focus more on defense, on keeping pucks away from the Lightning net, and that worked, not just during the regular season, but in 2020, but last season, Lightning went all the way to actually went all the way to a Stanley Cup, beat the Florida Panthers. Then they beat another team in their own division, and then they beat the New York Islanders, and then the Habs. The Habs in 5 games, but still, the last 2 games were kind of hard fought, but still, the Lightning won. Button claimed on that show back in July of last year that the Leafs had not had an impact forward such as a Barclay Goodrow or Blake Coleman. Yes, both forwards were with the Lightning at the time, but would go on to other teams. But still, the Leafs hadn't had either type of impact forward, at least anyone here anywhere near as good, and that was why the Leafs didn't get, beyond the opening round. That was despite the need, Button claimed, for Leafs to pick up, the impact forward. It's about balance, and that's what the Leafs don't have. I hate to think what's going to happen in the postseason next year, but we'll see. There may be that the pressure for changes is going to be so big that Dubas-Shanahan will act to actually try to, trade out pieces, to improve on the defense and all that, because it's just enough is enough. I don't know what's going to happen, but definitely going to be interesting to find out what happens in the offseason. But for now, I'm going to just sit back, watch the watch the second round, see which Alberta team will end up getting to a conference final. I mean, it's a good thing that I cheer for Canadian teams other than the Habs and not just the Leafs when it comes to postseason time, because the Leafs have in the postseason been a joke of a franchise. They just don't have enough of the right pieces. And in the last few seasons, it's been the Dubas. It's time for upper management to listen to feedback. When it comes to feedback, I try to incorporate feedback. And as long as it's practical to implement, I'll do so. I'll do it to the degree that it's practical. Dubas and Shanahan haven't done that. Anyway, go Leafs go. Go Canada go.